This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through him. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura's gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Adelaide immediately to the back, like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
Welcome back, everybody, to yet another night, another jam-packed mid-season week for everyone here competing in the CGL Season 17 bracket tournament, all that jazz. We're once again going over to Diamond. You're like, Ma, there hasn't been a stream today. What do you mean once again? Well, if you're observing like us two are with our glasses, you'll see we're on CGL number 2 because number 1 is also on stream here with the same division. So you want to look at the side-by-side of the Diamond mid-season bracket, you absolutely can. But this is a little bit more fun, a little more important in my opinion. No bias, of course, with us on it. We have Marsupial Madness up against the Assassins, and it's going to be a fun best of 5 for us tonight.
Yeah, honestly, really looking forward to get to see these two teams go head-to-head, of course, with our mid-season tournament bracket here. It is really just 4 teams, so it is 2v2, and then the winners of those 2 teams face off down the line here. So yeah, as you mentioned, Mutt, there is an ongoing match right now on CGL1, so real quick, just open another tab, why don't you? Have both of those ready on your screen. Got to keep up with all the CGL action here in our NA Diamond division. So yes, it's Drop the Guns and Versus Pronouns Academy up there, and of course here, Marsupial Madness versus Assassins. Both these teams honestly have had a really solid run so far in the early season. Now is kind of time to separate a little bit of bragging rights here as we head into the latter portion of Season 17.
And it's very exciting. I always love catching the mid-season bracket because these teams are basically scheduling all the matches one after another. There is not a weekly thing. It is not going to be like, oh, Friday this week, next Friday is our next week, our next match for mid-season. No, it's all done in one extremely jam-packed week for these teams today. Of course, Diamond, as you mentioned, is a little bit of a smaller bracket, so you have a little bit more leeway with where you're able to schedule your games and having to, you know, get ready for that. But we have some brackets that have 8 teams in them, so an entire single limb bracket is prepared for a couple of our other divisions like Masters and GM, for example. In the meantime, though, we bring it right back to Diamond, a very, very hotly competitive bracket tier here in CGL Season 17. So with that being said, let's start talking about mid-season, talking about the maps we're going to possibly face, talking about our teams as well. So let's talk real quick about the Assassins first and foremost. These guys looking absolutely fantastic as they have now gone into, of course, getting being available for the midseason, even getting qualified to play in the midseason bracket. And here's your first 5 lineups for the Assassins. First, Cyber Girl up in the tank line, of course, with Nomea Madbugs behind him. And then, of course, the back line consisting of Spiky Cloud and the Lady. Love this comp. Love the I love the comp, the favorite heroes as well. I love to touch on them. You have some Reinhardt, you have some, of course, the more meta-based Sojourn, Vendetta, and Kiriko favorites. So we might see some of that kind of make a resurgence as we get into our game tonight.
Whereas on the other side of things here, looking at Marsupials, if we have the chance to, I think actually they might not have gotten all of their info to us real quick. So yeah, No worries there. Going back for a second here. Yeah, so that is one of our teams. Of course, the second we'll see a bit more info on after we get the first map underway here. Right now, they're kind of a mystery coming in here hot off of whatever composition they've been favoring coming in. But they've honestly been looking really solid all the way through here. This is an undefeated team. They have had 4 match wins so far, dropping a single map only so far in Season 17 here, Ma. So really, really the team to beat. Assassin's no slouch, only 1 loss, and that was a 5-map heater, but yeah, very much favoring Marsupial Madness coming into this series today.
Yes, no, absolutely, and I can pat my back a little bit there. We were the team that got the map win. A little pat on the back there against Marsupial Madness, but you're right, these guys are the ones to look for. They're basically virtually undefeated, pretty much almost perfect 3-0s the entire regular season. 1-3-1. Anyway, but we are gonna see these guys. They are the favorite to win. Assassins have a lot to work towards to even get a map off of these guys. Because let me tell you, that one map it's difficult. They're a really, really well-oiled machine, are the Marsupial Madness crew. And again, we know a couple of things about their players. You can see the lineup coming in as well for my favorite North American possums. We have Akiona and FaZe X2 up in that DPS line. Yo, FaZe was a menace. I will say that one time and one time only. In the front line is Cinny, and the back line is Bonnie and Silver soon, and that's pretty much gonna be the entire starting 5. Some substitutes are also available for both Marsupial Madness and Assassins, but whether or not we're gonna see them is gonna be between each and every map. And speaking of our maps, we do have our round 1 map locked and loaded here. Best of 5. They're gonna have that first map, and then every other map will be a subsequent pick from the lower side. But of course, to make things nice and fair, make things nice and even, we go over to the beautiful, beautiful coastline of Ilios.
Yeah, these ones are set in stone coming out the gate here. Ilios provides so much potential for, I'm always thinking of our brand new heroes into the meta here. If you want to run some Jetpack Cat, unless it gets banned out, of course, here, that is the time and place to do it. But speaking thereof, we're going to have a look here at what our bans are coming into this first map of the series. Yeah, have a look, folks. It is the Junker Queen ban from Marsupial Madness and EIG banning out Ashe. All right. Not heroes that are known, so far here on Ilios. They are not the most common meta picks right now for either position they fill, but both still have a home here, right? Ashe, especially looking on Ruins, does have tons of capability to work that high ground, work that skybox, especially for running either an Echo or Freya on the opposite side. You want to be able to clip those wings. And Junker Queen, maybe not the most meta pick right now, but if you're trying to protect that tank line, that is certainly a ban that I would recommend.
No, for sure. And again, it's very weird to see the Junker Queen be a ban on something like Ilios. Usually she's more reserved, if ever, for your flashpoint or something like that, where she really can be super impactful. But that also mitigates that kind of displacement from her knife, of course, from not going into the well, or for example, right? But the Ashe ban, as I mentioned, makes complete sense. She has kind of reintegrated her place in the greater DPS space. So I like these bans a whole lot here. And as you can see, we're going very quickly into our matches. I appreciate our players for getting these bans out of the way as soon as possible, because we want to get right into the game. We want to talk about what they're going to be running on Ilios. And I do recall, we could see the return of that D.Va array, a favorite from Cindy, as I mentioned earlier. But we're going to see maybe possibly D.Va, possibly a Sojourn mirror between FaZe and Nomad. I mean, we can also see, of course, the coveted and very highly popular Lucio and Kiriko backline from either of these sides as well, to have that kind of speed boost going into something like Ilios, or even just the rest of these maps, because that backline is pretty much picture perfect for the most if not all of Overwatch's lifespan.
Yeah, honestly, the backline untouched in the ban phase here, so kind of expecting to see Lucio Kiriko until proven otherwise. As we mentioned, touched on a little bit briefly, the Jetpack Cat does see some play on these control maps, especially on Ilios when it comes to it. When you have that potential to operate on all the environmental angles that happen here, especially on Well, especially on Lighthouse, but also just chauffeuring your tank back into the fight as quickly as possible. Cybergirl might be rolling out in this Reinhardt, probably something else here, but whether or not you are, any of these slower tanks would love to have just a little bit of that life lift getting out of the spawn doors a bit quicker here. So yeah, if you do do not want to run the stock standard backline that is the Lucio Kiriko. Jetpack kind of slotted in there pretty nicely. Of course, since his inception, Wuyang has seen a decent amount of play alongside Kiriko's whenever someone does not want to run or is not allowed to run that Lucio. But yeah, so far we're seeing that mirrored backline, but a bit of a difference here. 2 separate dive tanks, which will be the leader rolling out of spawn. And also the Cassidy, a bit of a different pick here for Assassins. I love this going into that Sojourn and Genji line from Marsupial Madness.
On that note, also want to quickly mention that Star Wolf is going to be coming in for the lady here, so we'll see her instead on that Kiriko for the Assassins. But in the meantime, here comes the point unlocking in the next 10 seconds. Both teams are on complete opposite sides of the well. One side, Marsupial Madness on the coastline, the other side from the Assassins. Deciding to stabilize around the well, around the other half of the well here, around the cage. And with a double kill, first on the D-Mech and then on the Baby Diva, you're down your tank for the side Marsupial Madness. They can't really walk in. FaZe could get maybe a one-off trade-off on the opposing Sojourn, or opposing Cassidy, who is in the cage, but it's better to just reset and wait for our Diva to come back. Cindy might be a little bit of a world of hurt here. Suzu saves the day, though, and now we can start getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, but that first tick comes through as Assassins are holding strong on the objective already here. Really solid aggression out here from Marsupial Madness, but Assassins are able to sort of take that and bend with it. Although losing your tank there, Cybergirl falling down is going to be a massive loss condition for them, frankly.
It sure is, and Madbugs did get a really cool elimination onto FaZe, but then was kind of sought out by the rest of the team of Marsupial Madness. You know, working without the Sojourn, not really the end of the world, because you have everything else at your disposal to not only take the point back in your favor very early on in Ilios, but also start walking up and positioning in front of the Assassins here. Now we're going to start to really rebalance ourselves back into the objective. We hear Deadeye get expended and actually gets results in a double kill for Nomad. A triple, in fact, finding Cindy in the meantime. Now just finishing things off extremely quickly here for the Assassins. What a Deadeye, what a complete overtake of the fight.
Yeah, so much of Assassin's squad was sort of bundled up in the back room there on the far side of the objective. Marsupial Madness were so focused on maintaining that pressure onto the tank, onto the backline there, that Nomad just kind of strolled out very unperturbed in a crisp 2 kill on the Deadeye and clean up with a 3rd after. Really impressive maneuvering there, and also good work from the rest of Assassins to draw focus away from their Cassidy. That's absolutely massive. He's so diveable, but now, of course, the rush coming through, that's an early start for both teams.
It sure is, from Bonnie especially, using their continued rush right on the actual field here, but after unfortunately going down with their Lucio at the same time, Silver soon doesn't even have an opportunity to even proc the sound barrier. So as much as I would have loved to see continued rush be a little bit more better, a little bit more focused here for Marsupial Madness, they lose out on it so quickly to Star Wolf's slightly better one.
Yeah, I mean, talk about blink and you miss it fights there. Both these teams committing their Kitsune rushes, as is so often the case here when both backlines have access to that ultimate. Usually they're going blow for blow with that. But Marsupial Madness, I mean, they were able to build up some ultimates with that one. But otherwise, that fight entirely was a wasted one here. Now it's the chance for, you know, this double Lucio here from Assassins for a few more seconds to hold things down.
Cindy walks in with, of course, their own Dragon Blade in the meantime, post or even pre-sound barrier from Spiky. Deadeye once again ready and loaded, gets 1 kill onto FaZe, but all Nomad is able to do is stall to a guaranteed overtime, and Kiona gets a little bit too far into the well and finds himself back in his own spawn room.
Yeah, that was a strange end to that fight for sure. Once again, leaving Nomad unmarked does lead to death by Deadeye. But yeah, taking down, you know, again, your focal point of that composition, and the rest of Marsupial Madness were able that time to actually answer back and not get fully caught out. Taking down Cybergirl was a crucial linchpin of that fight.
And now it's down to Cindy as well. Oh, losing out, and remember, as Akona just came back to the engagement phase and no worse for wear. Then you have a Cassidy looking at Bonnie in the meantime, who's trying their best to keep everyone alive, including their own Lucio. Silver forces Bonnie to use their cooldown onto himself, and now you have actually, in the meantime, been able to take down Cybergirl, and thank goodness we didn't get booped into the well with that sound barrier. Even Silver's like, wow, I'm glad I didn't get booped into there. unfortunately, we can't see the same for the tank of Marsupial Madness as Akiyona actually gets pushed into the well in the midst of the engagement. Deadeye committed from Nomad once again. Not going to find any kills this time, as unfortunate as that is for the Assassin. We see a teleport away from the point. Now for Cindy trying to find this ball in the back line. In the midst of the engagement here, Rags, we flip the point for the Assassins. Now they have to make sure they can keep it up in their favor. Pummel onto the back line. Susan negates it, but only for so long. The pressure is starting to really ramp up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the position that Cybergirl has very much put himself in, desperate just to find these pickoffs, trying to angle this around here. Marsupial Madness have worked all the way around the objective and now are sort of coming at this from all angles here, whereas Assassins, they're still struggling just to keep hold of the point here and losing your tank. I mean, that's a guaranteed flip at the end of the day. Really solid work from Marsupial Madness to sort of keep a foot on the point at all times, you know, making sure that pressure stayed strong all the way through. In between, as the last fight's coming in here, Cindy back here on this Reaper, and of course Cybergirl on the Wrecking Ball that we saw, blissfully torn to pieces there. As the Diva Bomb up, will it land? Takes out the mech from Madbox. That's an early and easy start.
This is so unfortunate for Assassins, but so good for Marsupial Madness. I mean, again, they were the ones in the back seat. They're the ones kind of letting things happen to them. But when push came to shove, they cleaned up house. They used the overclock. They had the residual bomb after the fact. They knew that there was nothing else the Assassins had in the toolkit besides a hope and a prayer. And thankfully for, of course, for our favorite possums in North America, they made it to the first point, but not, or the first point in Ilios. Now they had to do all over again on Ruins.
Yeah, honestly, Marsupial Madness able to really maintain, you know, grace under that pressure coming out. Assassins felt so much like they had control of, well, at so many points there. I mean, Nomad coming strong with those dead eyes, two of them lethal, and the third one having to duck out of dodge at the last second there, facing the pressure coming out from a rush out from Bonnie. But yeah, Marsupial Madness, I really appreciate the just slight adjustment of composition here. I think that Senea's Genji, while not, you know, lacking, just was not enough frontline presence there. Akiyona was only able to hold things down so much, but that presence of the Reaper alongside, essentially acting again as kind of a flex tank on that angle alongside that Diva, is absolutely massive. And again, shoving so much damage, and of course, the Winston very vulnerable, but this Ramattra a little bit less so.
Yeah, on top of that, you also have Nobed, who is just taking care of business from a whole other angle onto the Lucio from Marsupial Madness, and Cindy no worse for wear. Same thing with the Akiyona, who has not been demeched and will not be staggered out. There's like, yeah, we're going to kill you really early and then get the point for ourselves. Greedy as they are now starting to push really far up past the point now towards the temple, where Marsupial Madness are trying their best to break through. Oh!
I see. Some promised swaps coming through. Akiyona back here on this Reinhardt with a single bar of health and a prayer here. The Bastion as well from Cindy. I mean, this is a team desperate to break this defensive hold right now. But again, I love to see a swap this early in the match. You know, even if it is one of these more spam-focused compositions that they're rotating to here. If it works, Mott, is it bad?
Well, it worked because you are able to shut down what could have been a more impactful Deadeye from Nomad, and then, yeah, you mentioned it best, the best way possible of what this comp is meant to do. Break down this defense, and break down they did. And only 44%, still a little bit later of a flip here, but they have ults to work with. This more specifically Bonnie and Silver's respective window and sound barrier versus the upcoming annihilation from Cybergirl. Now, this could be really good for them, as we are already seeing a very quick re-engagement into this next fight here for the Assassins. They don't want to give Marsupial Madness any more time or any more percentage than they already have garnered for themselves. They're going in for an aggressive annihilation. Only 1% away from, unfortunately, the sound barrier, so not going to be able to use it. But the window does get propped in the middle of the engagement and not going to get used too well here, especially for Cindy, who is the first one down. But the pressure is coming too much to go to bear. One shatter coming from Madbug, so and that is, in fact, going to be the kicker, taking Akiyona again away from the fight entirely.
No, that was a really clutch copy here out from Madbucks. Honestly, the savior in this fight. You do not have that extra tank on the line when Cybergirl goes down. That could easily be a win coming through from Marsupial Madness. FaZe, though, finding a late game kill onto Madbucks. So again, we're seeing these fights, Mott, you said it, these don't really end. The fight ends and the next one is immediately there on the heels, and the point has already flipped. Right, blink and you miss it. These teams are just not allowing for any downtime between themselves here. We have plenty of ults online for both both of these squads, but crucially it is the support ultimates here for Assassins. But Mad Buck swapping here onto this Vendetta. Alright, desperate to find some sort of clutch kill onto either this Bastion or this Reinhardt.
I mean, even a better one to Sojourn from Cine. 3K actually from the Bastion player of all things shuts down whatever aggression that was going to come out from the Assassins. And listen, we keep talking about it. These fights are happening so fast. There's not really much to say in the interim because there's no interim. They're going straight in. We're still waiting on a couple of players to actually respawn. And in the meantime, in the middle of these kind of in-between periods, Marsupial Madness are backing up to the objective to actually have more of an advantage with this overclock, with the bear, with the window as well. Spiky Cloud really in no worse for wear, having gone so low because of that window. And then look at this, a double kill, mostly from FaZe's overclock. They're getting a nice double whammy onto the opposition, giving us another 3v5 advantage state for the Marsupial Madness crew. Now we're in overtime. It's just poor old Cyber Girl trying his best to stabilize against the Reinhardt. Does so pretty nicely, and Nomad re-engages in the fight here with a beautiful backup overclock, and that's gonna be very much a Hail Mary flip there, but a flip nevertheless.
I honestly hope the players are breathing because I feel like I'm not here. Between the high pace of these engagements here and, of course, the desperate speed at which they come back into the fight, Assassins spent so heavily in that fight, but it got them the point once again. Marsupial Madness only used that overclock just to stay alive here, and FaZe taking an early kill into Nomad. That spells disaster for the team in red.
Give me a big shatter. Oh, it's big. Gets one support. Could get the other one as well. There it is. Double whammy from the Reinhardt player of the Assassins. And now a 2v2 between Cybergirl and Nomad. Between, of course, themselves and Akiona and Cine, who are able to not only overtake that fight there almost single-handedly, but they also get the flip here. Nomad tries to re-engage, but Cine is right there with the Terraform, and just like that, as close as these fights were, it's gonna be the Marsupial Madness crew that win it out on top with a 2-0 in Ilios and a 1 point on the board.
Was it clean? Was it pretty? It was neither of those things, but it was certainly a hell of a ride all the way through. Assassins starting off so strong on both of these points. Well and Ruins getting into their hands first things first here. Or at least, you know, it really felt like they were in the driver's seat in the large portion of Well. But once you had Marsupial Madness really finding their footing, especially with that slight compositional swap there on Well and a massive seismic shift on Ruins, they really, again, they were still losing fights. It's not as if they became unstoppable, but they really seemed a lot more comfortable. They seemed to have a lane that seemed to, allow them a win condition there. That mirror comp just was not really suiting them, honestly. They still had that tank differential there, but they were able to tear apart that Winston. And some good swaps, some good adjustments there on the side of Assassins. The Ramantra, I think, was a really solid answer to those adjustments that Marsupials were making, but unfortunately, just not enough there. The Vendetta really didn't seem to do a whole lot that the Echo wasn't already finding success with. So yeah, I don't know. I find that Reinhardt is one of the few tanks that is not really bothered by Vendetta. I think that she comes in with that sword and he just 1-2 hammer, that's kind of it. But no, I think we got to see some really solid moves. I love getting to see these Diamond Division teams because you truly never do know what it is they're going to come out with next here, and getting to see that Reinhardt Bastion composition here and played to excellent, effect and great success. Really solid work here from Marsupial Madness. Didn't even go to 3 rounds.
No, it didn't. There was no need for it to go 3 rounds because, again, we mentioned Marsupial Madness are the ones that are very heavily favored. I mean, they're coming in from the regular season with only 1 map dropped in the entire last 4 weeks. We've been seeing these guys in Diamond Division. Of course, the Assassins, of course, made it to midseason. There's a reason. They also have a pretty good, solid record on their shoulders. But now you're going up against arguably the best team in the Diamond Division right now. So you kind of get a little bit of a wake-up call. But also on that note, they kept it close. Both of these rounds went over to overtime. They went to 99% to almost 99% both times as well. So they have to make some small adjustments here and there. And the first thing they got to do is decide what map they're going to go on. Because, of course, in CGL, loser of the map gets to select the next map, which is an open free form between map type and, of course, the map within that map type. So we do have next map ready and loaded. Let's go over to the screen and see where we're going to go for our map number 2, chosen by the Assassins. And they said, you know what? Let's pick up the pace a little bit. Let's really kick into high gear. Let's go to Flashpoint. Let's go to Saravasa.
Look, of all the map types, it is the addition of Flashpoint is the only map type that kind of plays anything like Control. Really, it's just a Control map spread out over one map instead of sub-ones, but of course 5 instead of 3, so plenty of room for things to go wrong, but also very, very right here, and I'm expecting a good bit more of this controlled chaos from both of these squads here. I'm especially looking at, as long as they're not banned out, I think that Cassidy we got to see there from Assassins, Nomad was really adept at locking down the composition from Marsupial Madness, forcing them essentially onto that Reinhardt alongside that Bastion comp there. Two things that a Cassidy is not really going to have a whole lot of answers to here. So if that hero is still in the pool, expect to see a good amount of flank control with that from Assassins. Marsupial Madness, on the other hand, here, we saw that Junker Queen ban on the very first map. That does mean that they will not be able to ban here later on here. If you do want to run Queen, this is kind of one of those maps where you could make it happen. We hinted that at that little bit at the very start, where Flashpoint is where she sees some play here, but still not the most meta pick. So having a look at what our bans actually pan out to be here for our second map, it's the Zarya ban and the Lucio. I honestly, Mont, I love both of these bans.
That's my wife, though. That's my wife. They killed my wife. No, Zarya ban makes sense. You and I both know this very, very well. She has really just been running rampant in the greater meta space, whether it's her and Vendetta, her and Genji, her and Tracer. It does not really matter. As long as you have someone who's going to feed their brains out and Zarya's going to be stabilizing on the front line, yeah, she's kind of just a problem, right? With those bubbles and stuff like that. With that being said, Lucio always a sad one because he's just such a good character, but a little too good in the grand scheme of things. And if the Assassins want to inhibit Marsupial Madness's speed, especially if they want to re-engage back with that Rhine and Bap Lucio composition, Lucio makes complete sense. You might have to force him to go Kiri Wu Young, which you alluded to earlier in our series. We also might see the Juno kind of, to an extent, fulfill Lucio's role. Not to the same level, of course, but you'll have speed boost via the Hyper Ring. Of course, if that is what we want to see from either of these sides without our favorite Frog Boy. But that's pretty much the bans. That's pretty much our map. We have Servasa, no Zard, no Lucio. That's A-okay. And this could also open up things to more dive if you don't really want to overly rely on a speed boost for your Brawl comp. You can go back to D.Va and Winston, or D.Va Mirror, in fact, especially with Zarya being banned out completely. Kind of what I'm thinking of for Marsupial, if they want to possibly just, hey, if you want to play D.Va, we can at least ban out something that really does inhibit her, which is more often than not Zarya, outside of the other 10 bajillion reasons why Zarya is really good right now.
Yeah, honestly, and seeing that Lucio ban, that does really tell me we're either going to get the Jetpack Cat or we're getting the Wuyong here, which does provide a lot of excellent answers to some of these more dominant compositions here. So I think this kind of opens things up, more than it narrows them down. Lucio does see so much play all over the place. I think he can have a well-deserved rest on the bench for just a single map here, at least. But yeah, that really should quicken the pace here for our other support heroes that don't see quite as much frequent play here. It also tells me that they're looking to play, as you hinted at, more of these dive compositions where you don't need to run together as a full death ball coming to the objective here. People who have access to their own, version of speeding to the objective or playing on their own flanks here, where it's not nearly as vital to have that speed boost and AoE heals for, everyone who's close around you. So yeah, expect to see some more Tracer here. Usually you don't see as much of the Vendetta or the Venture if they're not being facilitated by that Zarya here. So you're gonna, Sojourn is kind of still the hero du jour when you're seeing most of these maps. I expect to see her played until she's banned, because all these teams can rely on her so effectively. We saw even the side of Marsupial, we're able to roll out with that Sojourn Genji, which is just so endemic of our current state of Overwatch here, or at least I used to say Overwatch 2, but that doesn't exist anymore. It's just always been Overwatch, but this phase of Overwatch, shall we say. So anytime we get to deviate from that, as we even saw on Ilios, we saw an early round swap onto that Reaper alongside the Sojourn. Reaper, again, loves to have those Zarya bubbles, so probably not as much. But again, if you're looking to have these flankers that hit a bit different, this is Diamond. All bets are off. Any of these comps are on the table here. I'm excited.
On that note, we also can see some player swaps. I mentioned earlier that both these teams do have substitutions, and they do have subs waiting in the wings, and we have a massive amount of new faces walking in. We have this return of Starwolf. We had seen her on the graphic earlier. Now she's actually going to be able to play the game. On the top part, we do have Bonnie. We do have QZ. We also have Smirks. coming in from Marsupial Madness. So gonna be a very, very, very intense one. Also, it's fun because you'll have your substitutes that also play. So mind you, I just lied to you, everyone. Starville was already playing. I was thinking of the ladies. Excuse me. Starville is still staying in. My bad. But the other 3 coming in from Marsupial Madness, I want to mention real quick. They're not warmed up, or at least they didn't play map 1, right? So you had to really quickly adapt once again to your new backline, your flex DPS of Bonnie once again. Like, you need to make sure you're able to get right back into the swing of things just to make sure that you're not going in cold against a mostly warm-up team of assassins going into Flashpoint of all things. Thankfully, there's up to 5 rounds of Flashpoint you can play, so there's a lot of, cushion room to reignite that your comms, your confidence, your aim, everything under the sun. But this is our head-to-head. These are our 10 players, and I'm being lied to. The lady is back in. Starville taking a little bit of a break for the assassin. So 1 new player coming in for our assassin's crew.
Yeah, 40% of the entire lobby swapping out and coming in fresh here. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Mott. This does provide some warm-up potential here for these new players. Marsupial Madness have to get themselves fresh here. Assassins mostly put together, just having their flex support here swapped up into the mix. But I'm really excited to see what we roll out with here. I'm kind of expecting, as we sort of talked about here, either that Winston or that Diva. I mean, both these teams, they each favored one or the other on Ilios starting out the gate here on Well. So here on Saravasa, either is possible. But again, without that Lucio, you really need to have access to your own flexibility, your own dive potential here in these tanks. You cannot rely on that speed boost, on that general AoE possibilities that we have here. This does provide an opening for Mouchette. I am seeing a hover on a Junker Queen. Would love it if that comes to pass. And Akiona, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or at least until it breaks. That is going to be the Reinhardt again. Again, folks, this could be bait, this could be false, this could be not true. But in the next few seconds, we'll see coming out of spawn, it is these compositions. We see the Wuyong Kiriko, as mentioned, from Assassins, and the Ana Kiri from Marsupial Madness. I am curious. I hope this works out well for them.
It hopefully will. Mouchette coming in on that Junker Queen. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, right? We are talking about how impactful Junker Queen can in fact be on these kind of Flashpoint maps, especially Saravasa. But into Reinhardt, you got a little bit of work cut out for you. In the meantime, backline looking very interesting for Marsupial Madness. We have the Ana, we have the Kiriko double flex support backline, but then you're being completely run on by the entirety of the Assassin's team. No Ana, unfortunately, but in the meantime, Akiona is going to be peeling for, of course, the backline, and then gets a double kill. Despite Cloud getting a sneaky one up on FaZe in the meantime, and even sneakier is the fact that we are able to actually flip the point early for the Assassins, but just right after the fact, whoa, will be the flip here for Marsupial Madness.
Yeah, I mean, talk about madness. That early kill onto QZ Kago, I mean, that's kind of what I was expecting to happen onto that Ana, especially with this Junker Queen composition here. Everyone can just dive directly on you. You're being facilitated by this Vendetta as well. I mean, forget it. If you are a stationary support, there's so little you can do in the face of that overwhelming aggression. Bonnie falling down, I have to imagine they're probably more the specialist here when it comes to this Reaper as opposed to the previous map. But no, they're swapping over to the Venture. I honestly really prefer this into the comp that Assassins are running.
Oh, big slam onto the lady, and she's not gonna go down quite yet. Of course, more focus going towards Mouchette and Nova in the meantime, because FaZe is just running rampant on this Cassidy. Feels like they haven't really found an answer to the Cowboy quite yet, letting FaZe kind of just do whatever FaZe wants to do. We also have a Deadeye and the accompanying rush in this next fight versus Overclock from Nomad. Could go either way, only 20% more than the objective needed to go for Marsupial Madness.
Yeah, so just looking for this overclock here from Nomad to find some kills. They desperately need to make some inroads on this objective, but as you mentioned, Marsupial Madness are fully in control here and have more ults to boot here. That Deadeye out from FaZe! Ooh, that is a devastating early pick.
It is, and you know what, even better was Ekina right there to have that big old shield to protect FaZe's Deadeye in the meantime, and that allows a big advantage. Even getting a couple of late-minute staggers onto Madbugs, for example, not allowing the use of the overclock in the midst of that engagement. But now we move over, I believe, to Ruins now towards, oh no, that's Temple. We were going the whole wrong way. Going over to Temple here. There's nothing besides maybe the upcoming Nano. Could that be enough against Overclock, but against a Rampage? We'll have to see.
I mean, I still have yet to see an answer to Akiona's Reinhardt here. I mean, not just on Ilios Ruins, but here as well on Suravaza. Granted, it's only been 1 point so far, but there's very little that Assassins can do to break this shield. I mean, the Sojourn will get there eventually, but you're really counting on Muschietti to get in the Reinhardt's face, and that's just so tough when you've got, you know, Venture alongside the Cassidy poking at you, prodding at you, taking so much damage on approach.
Unfortunate for Bonnie, actually going down early to Muschietti of all people. Now there's a big 5v4 advantage that the Assassins know they have, so they don't have to invest. They don't have to overly invest any of these 4 ultimates. They're going to use the Rampage first for that self-heal, but then everyone that has looked right to the Jungle Queen and said no. Now we're going to see the full throttle of these ultimates being used for the Assassins. 4 in fact needing to be used, so of course is no doubt why they were able to win that fight off, but all we needed for that was the nano. That's huge an economical advantage here for Marsupial Madness.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching Assassin's Nomad there, just holding on to that last charge rail shot from that overclock, desperate to find someone to use it on. But yeah, that is a massive investment here from Assassins. I'm honestly kind of wondering if they're going to regret that overinvestment there, especially considering, as you mentioned, Marsupial Madness have plenty to work with in this next fight. Akiona has not had a chance to miss with these shatters, and of course, there's no shield, nothing to block them on the side of Assassins anyway, so whenever Marsupial hits the go button, there's nothing that Assassins can do about it.
Oh no, big shatter. Also the Hinder Nade actually taking care of Madbugs. A pin against the wall is Muschietti's health bars going straight to 0. What a re-engagement, dude. It is just so insane to see how quickly the Marsupial Madness crew are able to just snap back into this fight. Losing 1, who cares? We kill 5 for the 1. FaZe is fine. Oh, it's totally okay with that.
Yeah, honestly, all you have to do is keep your Ana safe here, and the aggression coming out here from Marsupial Madness really means that there's no chance for Assassins to even come close to focusing on the backline. Smirks with this Kitsune Rush well outpacing the Lady on her side of things, so this could be an easy fight wipe here, and overtime is already ticking here at Temple.
Oh, that's it. They can't even touch because Bonnie's is single-handedly keeping these guys in check on the coastline. Yeah, wonderful once again. FaZe and 1 angle taking care of basically everyone else. And of course, we're going to see that off angle being overtaken by Bonnie. And now the swap of all time. When it comes to Reinhardt, just join him. Don't beat him, join him.
I mean, in fairness, Muschietti was kind of hovering this as a favored hero in our roster lineup there for Assassins, so this might just be a pocket strat late in the game here, or it might just be that, yeah, if you can't beat him, join him, and really hope that you can beat him at that point there. I'd be a little bit afraid going into that mirror matchup right now, especially as comfortable as Akiona has been, as warm as Akiona has been, and of course, with that nano in your back pocket, there's so little to do.
1 blade and overclock also layered over top it, so a bunch of burst damage basically being invested in the interim fight here. We're not even on the objective, by the way, Rags. We are literally just playing around the outskirts of the ruins. Point is yet to unlock, actually is unlocked, but no one has actually snagged it up. In fact, it's gonna be the Lady trying, you know, her very best to kind of juke this venture a little bit longer. Actually gets herself out of a pickle a little bit as well, and now here comes a re-engagement coming in from Muschietti, who has just touched the point, but it's going to be Marsupial Madness who has the point for now. Arconia with 1 fire strike takes care of the Lady. Now a nano committed onto Bonnie. That's just going to be a big old amount of damage in the neutral that we cannot overtake.
No, I mean, that was just a 2v2 on the objective for the longest time there while the rest of the squad were coming back from the spawn doors. But yeah, it made a world of difference having Bonnie on that Venture, who was able to burrow just to get out of dodge, just to stay alive there. And of course, you called it, the Lady. There's so little she can do just to stay alive, and against a Venture is probably one of the hardest targets for a Kiriko at close range to deal with there. Most targets have, you know, sort of a very clear pattern of approach there, but at any point here, this hero could be underground. And then what are you going to do? What are Kuna's going to do? And another shadow here from Akiona. That's another fight win.
Of course it is. One big shatter. Also the anti-nade following up on that onto Muschietti, who can't even get healed up because I think the Lady unfortunately was just dead before the Suzu could come out in time. 91% of the point. I mean, are they even going to get a touch? Well, no. If Bonnie's in the back line using the shot. Oh, you're not making it though. I don't care. You're not making it. Bonnie did their job. Yep. Bonnie did their job. That's all that matters. Bonnie said you're not getting past me, and they really just didn't get past. They couldn't get past them.
No, a true Bridge of Khazad-dûm moment. You shall not pass. Sorry about the ref, but that is going to be a massive shutdown here for Marsupial Madness. I mean, that is 3 points and 3 points won for the team in blue. Really solid work coming through here. Assassins made some adjustments. I think I had some hope for their comp coming out of the gate, right? That Junker Queen composition certainly had some promise. I can easily see why she was banned out in that first map on Ilios there, where, again, if your team has that pocket strategy, really likes to orbit around that Junker Queen, totally fair that your opponent wants to ban that out on Ilios. But having full access to it here on Saravasa, now again, you didn't have that Lucio, which I'm sure was a real ringer for that comp, to be fully honest. Yeah, you know, thinking back to Jotes, the dawn of the current state of Overwatch here, but you don't have that here. The bans come through, they hit every team, they hit every side of it here. You have to be able to make those adjustments and those adaptations. Probably why we saw such wholesale swaps coming through for their roster, unfortunately, and it just was not enough to swing things in their favor.
No, absolutely. You know, they're just, it's a struggle. I think Queen into Reinhardt struggles anyway because that big old shield does inhibit her a lot. You know, her shotgun can't really do much. Even Gracie can't really go through the shield either. And then, of course, you have that, you know, you just block it. And what's she gonna do? You know, it becomes very difficult for her to do her job, which is why you saw that swap towards mirroring the Reinhardt at the end of the day. Maybe could have worked in other circumstances, but this time, it just was not going to be enough. Now on match point is Marsupial Madness. And if you're Assassins, once again, you're in a very, you know, you're having a deja vu moment. You're back in the hot seat. You're back choosing where do you want to go next. The only options, of course, being left are push, escort, and hybrid. Do they want to go to payload map? Do they want to kind of slow down the pace a bit here and not leave it up to these more objective-based maps like, of course, Control and Flashpoint, even push to an extent? Do we want to make it maybe go to a Shambali, maybe a Circuit Royale, maybe something that can slow things down, at least enough for them to turn it on its head?
Well, we'll have to find out exactly. Yeah, I think we make things happen here. We're looking at the third map already in this series here, and we do have a glimpse of what it's going to be, folks. Another choice here for Assassins. It's Escort. It's going to be Route 66. Honestly, it's been a minute since I've got to cast this map. I love getting here for, again, what is potentially our final map in the series. And Assassins have honestly just had such a tough time playing into Marsupial Madness's unconventional comp here, if I'm being fully honest. That Reinhardt is such a focal point for Marsupial Madness to orbit around. You know, whether it is their backline or their DPS, they're just able to they don't have to worry so much about the opposing tank, the opposing DPS. When that Reinhardt is drawing so much focus on the front line here, Assassins have to take up so much of their processing power mentally just to be constantly aware of the Reinhardt here, that shield providing such a mitigating factor here. I'm thinking that Cassidy out from Nomad in particular, even that Sojourn, I mean, we talked about it on Saravasa, they're not really playing anything hero-wise that can cut through that shield, that can really get that break potential here. So I need to see some compositional changes for them if we're going to keep seeing this Reinhardt. And again, Marsupial Madness have no reason not to run this. They're gonna run it until it stops working.
I feel like perhaps, but also just as a precaution, right, with your bans as well. What's more important, I think, is maybe banning out D.Va as soon as humanly possible. So the first thing I thought of was, okay, we're gonna go over 66, we're gonna likely play Dive, whether it's Winston, D.Va, Hazard, what have you. My first thing is, well, Marsupial played D.Va in the first round a little bit on Ilios. We should ban D.Va immediately. And yep, okay, look at that. Assassins do ban out D.Va early here, so that does leave also a Winston to be played with little to no real worry about the tank matchup anymore. D.Va the strongest against Winston more often than not. In the meantime, Marsupial Madness with the Brig ban as well, so they will be wanting to limit the use of an Ana Brig. Now, they themselves are totally fine with playing a Ana Kiriko. They're cool playing a double flex support backline. Assassins seems to not be. They like to play something a little more traditional, like the flex DPS and flex support and main support, excuse me. So that's something also to consider as the backline we're going to see from these guys. I think DPS are going to be very similar. Some Soj, maybe some back to Vendetta, maybe some back to Genji. You know, kind of your typical DPS selections that we've been seeing during the entirety of this series.
Yeah, I mean, Brigitte has so much utility in these backlines. We see some play with her, whether it's alongside the Baptiste. I even saw earlier today, there was a Brig Zenyatta backline that kind of ran train over an opponent on Esperanza. But here on Route 66, yeah, you're going to force this more fast-paced, support line here. Again, it honestly feels a little bit passe, but if you're going to keep doing with that Kyrie Lucio, this is not really the place to make it, it's not really the most obvious place to run that composition here. This is, like, the way that the escort works is less reliant on the speed boost here. You don't really need to worry about taxing yourself back to the payload as quickly as you need to here. That's kind of the only utility of the speed boost here. That payload can only move so quickly. So having the more flexible support lines, this is kind of where you'd see them. So shutting that down, getting that Brig off the board here does provide, an opening here for your DPS line. If you're going to be diving on the back line, Brig is one of those most obvious protections for your other support. So this kind of really signifies that Marsupial Madness are keen on picking apart their opposition here and really getting that dive flowing. Now, we could be wrong. They might still stick with this Reinhardt composition. They've already been defying the odds all series long here, but that is at least what is being suggested by these bans.
No, I agree with you. We could still run down on Reinhardt, especially if we're attacking first. If you're defending, I wouldn't expect that as much just because of the separation of space between the high ground, the gas station, and of course where the payload does move around. Makes it things a little bit more difficult for Reinhardt to actually do his job. But attacking, we could see a low Ryan attack. We can see a low Ryan attack, a little jetpack. Ooh. We saying too much now. We can see a little jetpack Cavi would like. I did mention they do like they being Marsupial Madness like to play or did play Kiriko and Ana together. But Lucio is also back in the fray. Specifically, Silver is back into the game here. So I think you and I can very much guess that we're gonna see the return of that Lucio and that Kiriko backline for Marsupial Madness at the very least. In the meantime, Assassins put Starwolf in her full glory back into the fight here on ideally an Ana. No Brig though, so she might be going back to the Kiri jail that many flex sports have been in for the past like 3 years.
Yeah, look, I'm seeing Kiri Lucio until I'm proven wrong here, much to my own chagrin. So looking at things here on the defensive side of things, my goodness here, it is Marsupial Madness once again on the Reinhardt. Look, folks, until it stops working, they're going to run with this composition. Some adjustments, though. Bonnie is over here on the Mei and FaZe once again on this Cassidy. Love to see these two heroes together. Fantastic pairing. Honestly, this is feeling a lot more like a hybrid map composition here for Marsupial Madness, but I don't hate it here defending, on the first point, especially here of Route 66. Has a lot of those same hallmarks that you're looking at those initial points on King's Row, on Numbani here. You've got that high ground outside the objective to worry about. Whereas on the offense, Assassins, Muschetti here on this Winston, they are desperate to make this dive comp work. Nomad gets immediately obliterated, but FaZe does pay for it with his life.
I mean, 2 people from Marsupial Madness are already taken down early by this dive composition from the Assassins. Of course, with the Ana and the Wu Yang in the back line, and Muschetti is just going for the targets that are lowest. Of course, Smirks and Akiona then going for a very, very out of the way Mei from Bonnie. And then we easily reset back on the gas station. The fence has been pretty much broken down and crumpled and has to reform. No swaps, though, so we're going to go right back to what has worked previously. Can it work on Route 66? Well, we gotta see it to believe it.
Yeah, close hold honestly didn't pay off at all, but the crucial part, whenever you go for that, does mean you have this guaranteed second contest here. And this is probably where Marsupial Madness want to be holding from anyway here, as a sleep onto FaZe. Having to watch out for all the CC coming through. Starwolf is proving herself to be more than adept at locking down the front line. FaZe, what an assassination.
I mean, Bro had a plan, and it was not gonna go off without a hitch, okay? We had goals, we had ideas, and we just went straight for the jugular against Spiky Cloud. In the meantime, defense has now regained itself the positioning of the gas station. Look, the wall against the Winston, meaning that Muschetti didn't even have a jump to jump over Bonnie's wall, meaning we have now gone back into the swing of things for Marsupial Madness, shaving off 1.5 minutes of the initial 4-minute timing, now only leaving 2.5 minutes, just under that for the Assassins, now moving over to Sigma instead.
But this is the time where you have to make swaps if you're going to, right? If you start making swaps closer and closer to the end of this time bank, you're not going to have your ult cycling online here, so you might eat a fight loss here coming into this. And of course, this is kind of that close hold that Marsupial Madness were not able to get the first time, but Bonnie here, an assassin with these icicles already. It turns out there's not just one hit scan on the DPS line here for Marsupial Madness, but EIG Assassins, they have the Bastion from Nomad, they have the Nano ready, and they're building up towards this Blade. This fight is their chance to break things open.
Icicle already used early. Nomad is back on that Bastion as you mentioned earlier, and also no form as well. Look at the rotation. Look how quickly they're like, okay, this is not gonna work anymore. We gotta go back to the objective. Now we're gonna walk in with the Blizzard, and Machete can't even grasp it in time before being assassinated by Bonnie. This is what I'm talking. Ryan is back. Ryan has never been more back.
That was a shatter in the middle of a blizzard. I honestly had to wipe the screen for a little bit there as I did a spit take. That is a deeply inconsiderate play from the defense here. EIG Assassins, they're making the changes. Machete back on the Reinhardt of his own, but it might be too little too late. Again, we just talked about seeing your swap cycling. We're down to a minute here for the offense, and this payload has made no further progress than their first push.
It hasn't. And we have to deal with yet another Deadeye from FaZe. Because Barrage does come through at the very least from Smurfs. The wall kind of mitigates it a little bit here, but he had more value by walling off Nomad, getting the charge on the pseudo, back area, the wall, and then boom, you do get also the kill onto the other Reinhardt in the meantime. Sarov is still holding on to her Nano, wanting ideally to use it with the Blade. Oh, run! We must start running. Oh, we gotta start running. Oh, Madbox just got destroyed by FaZe, and okay, we're gonna start to regain our composure. We are adults. I love this game. We're chilling.
I mean, Bonnie with the Maywall at the spawn doors, shutting the door against them. This is horror movie slasher stuff here. The defense of Marsupial Madness is playing like the most aggressive D there's ever been, really putting the fence in that thing. That is going to be a Blade out here. Natted up from Madbucks. Now is the hour. This is your best chance to get oh, Mott. Oh, no one's on the payload. Oh, God.
That's my division. Rags is my division. These are my people.
I said this is what I wanted, didn't I? This is what I said I wanted.
You want to be Diamond. This is what you're gonna get. We get a lot of C9s. We get a lot of funny stuff. We get a lot of nonsense, and this is one of the best. Okay. We also have Reinhardt on Rooster C6. That's actually working for Marsupial Madness. So listen, this is what you want. This is my people. I love my people. Let's get back into the swing of things, though. Assassins has decided, okay, we have to do basically a really close hold because 56 meters is nothing. That's the distance from me to my bathroom. That's nothing. It's very short. So what can we do here? Well, let's see the rosters. We do have the return of the Sigma. I love Sigma, so I'm all down for Machete Sigma. The backline, Iyari and Ana. Basically, you have 5 DPS. I'll put Sigma in there. We have 5 DPS. Make it work.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to go all in on holding solid here, trying to put together an even more aggressive and, well, if not aggressive, certainly lethal backline here for your defense, this is the best possible chance Assassins have at making that work. But Marsupial Madness, again, they're going to keep rolling here. They're going to teleport out to the objective, and then you're going to see Bonnie probably go straight back to that Mei, who was, I don't think I can even say any of these heroes were a linchpin to this roster because they all were just kind of doing whatever they wanted to, holding strong on that high ground. Reinhardt on the high ground, folks. It was working perfectly. There were no notes. It was flawless execution here, and now he's hopping gently up to meeting the defense on the high ground. Machete is going to have such a tough time when the hammer meets the physicist.
That's a rock. Right to FaZe's face. Yeah, FaZe needs to be a little bit careful more against this Sigma here. Same thing with Nomad. Ooh, what an elimination onto Smurfs. It's like, oh, I got back. My whole team's dead. We do see a little bit of an overextension from Nomad, trying to get a little bit greedy with some more pressure onto Akiona, but it's not going to really happen. We do see the entirety of Marsupial Madness walk out of the spawn room and now have to work in tandem. Who can be their target? Madbucks is chilling in this airspace, only being a little bit weary about the Cassidy and maybe even a stray secondary fire from Bonnie. Now the car is moving somewhat briskly. Nomad finds a little sliver of pixels of FaZe's head and just gets that rail shot and just destroys the Cowboy. And now it's a matter of the fact of finishing off the rest of the fight here in favor of the defenders.
The Cassidy may have the map buff, but so technically does Echo here, lore-wise speaking. So EIG Assassins doing a really solid job of holding here on this defense. I'm glad that this composition has paid off for them. On paper, it should, right? This should be the thing that shuts down this incredibly aggressive rush comp out here from Marsupial Madness. You need to have so much damage at range here. And like you mentioned, Mott, Madbucks is only really being countered here by FaZe and the stray shot from Bonnie, who has proven themselves more than equal to the task, but really able to find so much damage here. And now with the ult cycling, it is Assassins very much in control of their own fates, but that's a bit of a juke on the hand of the offense here. Marsupial Madness coming in from the low ground.
We're flying. We're flying with this overclock from Nomad. I love this. I love making plays up because this is what you get. You get double kills, even possibly a Cassidy kill. No, the Mega Pack was right there, but the Hinder slowed Nomad down from even grabbing the pack, but that's okay. We still have another 2 minutes left on the defense, and I must say the Assassins are doing a lot better of a job than I had anticipated, but now this is their biggest task. 3, almost 4 ultimates ready and locked for the Marsupial Madness.
Yeah, right now it's just 3v3 on the point, but of course about to have, once the Reinhardt's back in, it's a much shorter run back here for Marsupial Madness, and that is ults being spent. Oh, I can't bear to watch, Mott. Talk me through it.
I got you. We have the death of Mooshedi in the meantime. We traded off for FaZe, shutting down the use of the dead eye at the very least. We're going to be layering that with the continued rush instead from Smurfs. Looking for this Echo. We fly out of the way. Madbucks has nothing but a home, and as I mentioned, Bonnie will be hitting those secondary fires, especially if you're a flying character and no one else is there for the touch. They didn't even need anything else from the Marsupial Madness crew. All they needed was one good big push, and they win the series 3-0.
Marsupial Madness very much showing us why they are undefeated, but for a single map so far in this season. Really looking dominant, and honestly, as much as I hate to say it, throughout the vast majority of this series here, despite some heroics on the defensive side of things for Assassins on Route 66, not a particularly close showing here. Marsupial Madness have a full read on their own special little niche of the meta right now, right? This composition with the Reinhardt able to be facilitated here, not just alongside that Kiri Lucio, but we didn't see them play this without the Lucio, able to make this work alongside an Ana in the backline and whatever the DPS wish to run with here. But I honestly think that this Mei Cassidy, I mean, you called it out so many times, Bonnie on that Mei, I mean, might as well have been hit scan with those icicles. That is a devastating DPS line to go alongside a Reinhardt. Honestly, feeling very classic Overwatch with those hybridized plays there coming through. So really impressive stuff here. Didn't really seem much made to sweat here, but I believe we're going to go to a quick break while we get things set up here for our interview, folks. We'll be hearing from our winners in just a second.
And as promised, we do have our interviewee here with us. Not a player, but someone behind the mechanics, the comps, the Reinhardt defense on Route 66.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh yeah.
have Happy Ramen here, your boy, or your
How's it
bae,
going,
excuse me,
everybody?
here. Yes, I'm happy to talk to you, especially as a fellow Diamond tier player, to, of course, coach. I had to ask you this series.
Yeah.
You guys are the number one, pretty much the number one seed. You're only having one map loss in the regular season. Now we're in the mid-season bracket. You guys expect this? Do you guys expect this turnout for this the series?
Honestly, yeah, we did. We did a lot of reviewing, mainly a lot of VOD watching. We actually didn't scrim too much prior to it, but we had one scrim yesterday, which was really beneficial to us, and we just knew going into it that we were gonna win. Like we all just knew it. It was just a matter of how fast it was gonna be. So
I mean, it certainly showed, and I have to ask here, compositionally speaking, is this kind of the norm for your squad, or is this just sort of what felt right to play today?
Yeah, actually, Marsupial Madness, although this is the first time in, CGL, we have been a team prior, different players, different stuff, but we've always stuck around our main tank, Akiona, which is a Rhine player. So we've always tried to use Rhine as much as possible, as, just try to get Rhine to work everywhere, and I think it's been working out.
I mean, it certainly paid off. Like, that was every single time we were thinking of coming into these maps and we saw the bans come through, and I kept being adamant that unless we see this Rhine comp fail, we're not going to see anything but this. Is there any sort of adjustments you would make if you somehow meet your match here? What else do you have in your wheelhouse, or is it just Rhine till it dies?
Um, Actually, a lot of our players, we have a pretty big roster. A lot of our players are really flexible, and what we've been incorporating as of recently, especially for this mid-season tournament, is flexibility, allowing us to change heroes super fast, not sticking maybe on just the Rhine. If it isn't working, we will switch as fast as possible to the comp that will do it. And I think you saw us play some like Diva and stuff. That's our other comp that we're pretty confident on. But honestly, if it's not Akiona playing tank, you guys saw Cine for the first map. Cine can play tank, and we can just switch around and move everything to the point to where like we can win the match.
No, I love that. You basically just have a never-ending cycle of compositions and flexibility with your roster, or your big roster. I did see some substitutes coming for you guys, basically almost the entire roster swap. I think for when Lucio was banned, I want to say.
Yeah, when Lucio was banned.
Yeah. I saw how you commented that, of course, with a double flex support backline of the Ana and Kiriko, I believe. Is that something that you guys typically do, or is that just kind of like, hey, let's just do it. Let's try to go for an Ana, Kiriko, Reinhardt and see if it works against his Queen comp?
Yeah, so coming into it, we knew that the Assassins were going to play Queen, so that's why we banned out the first map. But Suravasa, we've been having a little bit of trouble on that map, and I think we just figured out what we need to do, and that is incorporate that double flex support from my guy QZ, which is one of the best Ana players that I know. He's just really good there. So yeah, double flex was just our answer to that, and we said, you know what, we're just gonna play Rhine, and if it doesn't work, we can switch that out, but it just didn't stop working.
No, that definitely didn't stop working. I was like, ooh, we're just killing everything. It was great, absolutely fantastic to watch. And for your final question, of course, so I can let you go, who do you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
On the broadcast? Honestly, I just want to shout out my team for keeping a really good mental and just going through it. I don't know. They just did a great job. It was nice to hear the comms. No negativity, no nothing. Just full positivity, good comms. We just played perfect, which is what I want to see.
I mean, no arguments there. Congratulations and job well done. Happy Ramen and the entire squad from Marsupial Madness. Congrats and best of luck down the line here. The final round of the tournament coming up on you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. We'll see you later. And that goes right back to us. And I do have some news about this mid-season bracket. We do have the winner of our sister stream, CGL 1, Drop the Guns, taking a 3-1 win over Virtuous Pronouns. We do have our grand finals match locked and loaded here for the mid-season bracket. For the Diamond tier, at the very least, Marsupial Madness up against Drop the Guns, and that's going to be a very fun one. That's going to be scheduled within the week at some point. We'll come back to Diamond and talk about that, but in the meantime, this was an absolutely fantastic 3-0 series from Marsupial Madness. It was nice to watch them instead of being, destroyed by them for once, so that was a nice little change of pace for moi, personally. In the meantime, Rags, thank you so much for the cast. Thank you so much to, of course, my producer and my observer today. It has absolutely been an absolutely great time, great angles, great coverage. I mean, I love Diamond. At the end of the day, I'm biased. I love Diamond. We're so fun. We're fun. We see 9. It's fine.
Folks, that's going to do it for us here on the stream tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow with some more EU happening in the middle of the day for us, and then more NA to come. It never ends here at CGL, so tune back into the stream. Stay there with the announcements. We'll be back to join you again tomorrow.